the big mountain behind it. This is Amarna Amenti. The term Stargate, or Uru Asa Elem, Jerusalem, the place where the Uru Asa queen made the L or phase shift. Here's that altar at Machu Picchu. Here's what the bed looks like. This is electrical engineering for birth or death, actually. This is Intihuana's prism here. See, the stone here is fractal to the shape of the mountain behind it. It's called Intihuana's prism. But if you know what that means electrically, it means the small paramagnetic device leaves an electrical shadow of the big electrical capacitor behind it. That means fractal compression or charge acceleration. So these structures were places for successful birth and death because they were places from which plasma could be distributed. There's the rainbow. And there's this story about June 21 and the sun lining up, your plasma can go, dot, dot, dot. You get the flavor. So I guess we can't say about your brother more than that, but some suggestions there. Yes, more thoughts. John?
When the plasma leaves your body, it just seems to be a nebulous mass. And then does it morph into a torus form? What happens there? And the other thing is when I could see, had an out-of-body experience where I could see my own energy form as a sort of like a cocoon, cigar-like. That wasn't a torus form. So is this changed through different, bit of shape-shifting through this
If we look at the orb
process?
Yeah, that's the right question. If we look at the orb phenomena, you see a torus, and then you see dodecaecosa as they become more morphic. So at first, biologic plasma will seem amorphic, as in the picture from Karakov after death. But then as biologic plasma becomes more and more compressed, if you zoom in, you begin to see geometric structures, dodecaecosa. I remember in the Adelaide fountain group where they were sending love to the fountain of Adelaide. After a while, at first the plasma sphere above the fountain seemed amorphous, but later they were seeing specific platonic geometries there. And here is the amorphous plasma here, but later when this plasma gets its show together, it begins to compress. And you can see that also in tornado formation, that if you look at the way tornadoes become self-aware, the same way people do, their core becomes implosive. So first, seems amorphous, but now you see a pentagram. Now if we zoom in, pent, that's a pentacle, Katrina. So that was the plasma becoming phase conjugate, urge to become self-aware. And that means that you can now begin to talk to that tornado. That tornado is ready to be spoken to because it's become phase conjugate, and therefore the charge distribution at the center. So that's something that would be more readily available for a shaman to inhabit, actually, and steer, because it was closer to being conjugate, and therefore implosive, and therefore projected. In other words, saying ready to communicate to DNA radio.
So the pharaohs, when they shoot up through that shaft of the pyramid, they seems like a gun where they're firing straight up from the Orient belt, so they don't seem to be hanging around or wondering where they're going to go. So why would you want to go up to Orient or something? Because if you're reading about the Anunnaki, their civilization seems like it's worse than the George Bush one.
Well, we're supposed to do.
Why would you want to go there?
We're supposed to do a short review of the Anunnaki Uru history, but Valerie made me promise that it was going to sound like a happily ever after. So, but just if we just look briefly, in addition to that tube you're pointing out from the pyramid, the geometry of the stone over the king's chamber called Jed is golden ratio, as in Jedi, because that is the geometry that creates a vertical component, like a Shem. And that not only did it reduce the weight on the stones over the king's chamber, but the plasma of the initiate in the king's chamber could experience that acceleration of plasma. So there's a lot of functions. As far as why is there a star map of Orion at Giza, and why would they want to go here, go there? Actually, the solar system is a kindergarten, and, it would be retrograde not to graduate. So it's not escapist to want to go through the sun. It's rather like, graduate from kindergarten sooner or later, please. And Orion is the next biggest star map or fractal, and that's where the Orion Wars. The very word Orion, by the way, means Orion, AU, as in origins and Ur, because the AU term means gold, or phase conjugate, or fractal. So if you look at the symbol, the structure, this is maybe leaping. We were going to doing this story at the end of our Science of DNA today, but that's the Orion arm of the galaxy is fractionated. It's broken, and that's what the Orion Wars did. They made a mess of the fractal. And this is Orion in 3D. You see the double cone? That's the two-phase conjugating cones. Old Japanese woodcut of the shape of the star systems of Orion. This is Mintaka, Alma Lam, Alnitak there, Betelgeuse, Betelgeuse, Bellatrix. And that was actually two opposing cones. And the symbol for Orion, universal symbol for Orion, this should look familiar. What did we talk about all morning? That's a picture of what we discussed all morning. Two opposing cones conjugating. Why would that then be the symbol for Orion? Anybody know? The name for this is two opposing cones. One's called Yod, Yah, and the other's called Vah, Yod, He, Vah, He, Yahweh. It's plasma physics, right? Two opposing cones. And so that's it. That's the reason, a symbol for Orion, because, I don't know if you can see it here, a little bit light here, but there's the double cones there. What's happening in the plasma here? Centripetal force. What is the area in our galaxy which is most pregnant with star birth in astrophysics? Why do stars go to so much trouble to make DNA? Because where stars are getting born, you need gene pools to squirt in the centripetal force. An introduction to angel physics, where if you really know the physics, interstellar plasma clouds are what you call angels. We're going to look at the Ophanim and Ophium later. And putting your plasma into these interstellar plasma bursts is how you grow up and become what holds galaxies together. Hello, grow up. Start, the sun didn't go to so much work to cook up DNA here for no adiabatic reason. And that's where we're going later in this course. So about why to go to Orion, yes, there was a mess there, but also there's a creative process going on. Yes, sir?
Just from my understanding, you had on one of your websites on there was a graph of all the different, Anunnaki,
That's right.
And from my understanding, it's like a mixed bag of tricks. We're all going to come from different places. So maybe it's a person